Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. We praise the Judge of Truth. The announcement about the phones was serious and funny at the same time. Almost every funeral, somebody rolls their eyes and then the phone goes off. So if your phone is on, just please put it to do not disturb. Because unless Norman's calling, we don't really want to answer. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, we praise the Judge of Truth. On this sad and beautiful sunny day, let us begin with Psalm 121. Esa enai el haharim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai aseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitein lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam Hashemesh lo yekeka v'yarech balayla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmoret nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzedcha uvoecha me'ata va'ad olam. I lift up mine eyes unto the mountains. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. The Lord will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. He is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. And let us recite the 23rd Psalm together in English, please. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It is a privilege to call forward Elise and Jamie to speak of their dear father, and maybe Ian is coming as well.
Sorry if I sound shaky. My dad was the biggest presence in the room in the quietest way possible. He was there for everyone with the greatest advice, no matter how difficult his message seemed at the time. And he always gave it in the gentlest way. Hurting people and seeing people pain was the worst thing for my dad. He wanted the best for every person he met in life, whether family, friends, acquaintances, or a complete stranger. Even if he didn't seem to be listening, mainly because he was so engrossed in an intense game of words with friends, he was hearing every word you said, thinking it through, and wondering how he could respond to help make things a little better for you. Though these last almost 4 years had been the most difficult, he pushed through, and I often told people that if you didn't actually know he was sick, then you would never know, because he didn't like to complain. More recently, he was so uncomfortable, he told my mom to cancel dinner with friends on a Saturday night, yet he felt so guilty about doing so. His kindness and generosity was a gift. He loved to give his time to people to help with the tough issues they were facing. He would often say that he's not a good businessman despite running a successful business for 50 years. It was his psych major that helped him connect to people and understand how to treat people right, and that's what drove his business to become a success. When I would stress about something minor at work, he would always remind me to look at the big picture. If someone didn't feel well, I would hear his mantra in my head, mind over matter. And I've always tried to stick by that to this day if I'm ever not feeling well. For over 48 years, my mom was his whole world. He wasn't one to often pick up the phone and call me, but when he did, the conversation always went something like this. Hi, hon, how are you? I'm fine, Dad, how are you? Where's Mom? He technically wasn't calling for me. It was just that he called my mom once, she didn't answer, and he went into panic mode. They were there for each other throughout life in the simplest of ways. A DoorDash dinner on a Friday night, a Sunday morning car ride to JC's for breakfast after catching up on the latest Dateline episode, a bike ride, and lots of time with the grandkids. He adored his 8 grandkids and always told us how proud he was of them. One of the last things Austin told him before leaving for baseball in St. Louis was that he was going to bring him home a championship for him. The thing is, that's not what was important to him. He'd love a championship for Austin, but knowing the effort he's put in and the enjoyment he has for the sport is what stood out to him. On April 16th, my dad was a last-minute addition to our car ride with my mom and Chase to Athens to surprise Reese at OU for her birthday. He was feeling pretty awful by then, but woke up and somehow felt good that day. I drove and got to sit next to him on the 77 route to Athens. After surprising Reese as she walked out of psychopathology and her telling us we have separation issues, we had 1 hour with her to have lunch, sing happy birthday, and embarrass her a little bit. When we left, he said, let's take Route 71 home for a change of scenery. We stopped for coffee and a car wash. We laughed. We shared stories. He told me about his first concert. And most importantly, he told me that that hour in Athens was the best hour of his life. Leading up to that trip, and since then, I've heard a song called Today by Brad Paisley that has so much meaning to me now. The lyrics go, I don't know about tomorrow, but right now the whole world feels right, and the memory of a day like today could get you through the rest of your life. That trip with him, the best hour of his life, is going to stick with me forever. And my Chase, he had a special bond with him because they shared a birthday. I remember waking up on November 6, 2015, and calling my dad and telling him I'm in labor a few days early. He couldn't believe it and said it was the best birthday gift of his life. When we brought Chase to hospice, he immediately walked over and hugged my dad, and it was a really emotional moment, and my dad told him how brave and poised he was, because something like that would be hard for most 8-year-olds to do. My dad's relationship with my amazing, huge-hearted husband was something that most in-laws don't get to share. Whether a family vacation, a guy's trip, or just a special conversation, they had a really beautiful bond. The other night at hospice, Joe thanked him for the most important night of his life. When Joe took him to Moxie and asked my dad if he could marry me, and my dad said yes. My dad had trouble containing his excitement, and I busted him soon after that night whispering to someone at my parents' house, and that's when I knew my engagement was coming up. My parents have told me that if something ever happened to them, they knew they didn't have to worry about me because of the love they see between Joe and I. And on a day like today, that brings me a little bit of peace. There are countless things I'm going to miss, but it's the simple ones that are the big ones. Working together for 32 years since I was 15 was an honor and a blessing. I always complain about his taste in music, especially in the last year, because we moved offices and now we were right next to each other. But now I'm going to miss that music coming through my walls. Walking to the beach at sunrise in the Outer Banks, our monthly competition about whose credit score was better, and the looks we gave each other. No words were required, just a look and some laughter when someone did something that made no sense to us. After a more recent scan and when his numbers went up, he said to me, I just love life. It was that simple. He just loved life and wanted to beat this thing. My family will continue his legacy of his love for life, family, and kindness. I love and miss you, Dad.
Dad, when I was younger and would be writing an essay for school, you'd always say to think of the next person reading it. As you bravely battled cancer and left us peacefully on Wednesday morning, I thought about all that I wanted to say to you. The next person in this moment is you, and it was almost impossible limiting it to a short few paragraphs. Some early memories that stand out significantly to me in my adult years from my childhood, listening to fun music with you. To this day, I attribute my love of 80s rock and love ballads to what I listened to with you in the car or in our basement on Bradford Road in South Euclid before we made our family journey to Beechwood in 1984. Might be off by a year. I still think about you reading in the hallway to Elise and I so that we'd both hear the story, surprising us with Michael Jackson tickets. I'm sorry that I got freaked out by his performance and ruined the concert. I remember you walking in the house with such excitement, surprising us that you got the tickets. Also, our father-daughter concert to see the Rolling Stones in 1995, our trips up and down the California coast, sitting together as a family waiting for Clint Eastwood to leave his town hall meeting when he was the mayor of Pebble Beach. My dad loved the stars. Going directly to Brentwood to see OJ's house when we landed in Los Angeles late at night. Listening to Hold My Hand by Hootie and the Blowfish on Highway 1 while Elise laid across the back seat and Ian and I fought and you stayed calm in the front seat driving. And never let my mom drive. One of my favorite trips was to the Canadian Rockies when he went to speak at a convention and we got to enjoy the beautiful sights together as a family. Dad, we didn't miss a beat. You love to drive and explore, and you had the patience of a saint. Your advocacy for my learning in school really stands out and helps me to do the same for my own kids. I learned so much from you. I always looked up to you and always will. Thank you for not only being the rock in our family, and as mom says, the voice of reason. You shared your love of life, music, and travel with Cameron, Avery, and Jake. I loved our memorable trips to Bethany Beach, the Outer Banks, and the last being South Haven, Michigan, where he found all the Tesla chargers near us. We absolutely loved being at your Boca home and made so many incredible memories there. Thank you for your generosity and unwavering love for my family. Even though you battled cancer for 4 years, you had mental grit that was indescribable. When Avery went to Illinois to a synchronized skating competition, you and Mom insisted on joining us so that we'd have support and wouldn't have to go alone. Your heart was filled with joy seeing your grandkids do what they love, and Dad, they all looked up to you in so many ways. Thank you for being the best papa, dad, boss, and friend to many. Thank you for believing in me and allowing me to prioritize being a mom and a businesswoman at the same time. Dad, I promise to carry on your legacy. We all will. Your journey has taught me to keep trucking forward and to appreciate the simple things that mean the most along the way. I love you.
And to those words spoken as a prayer, let us say Amen. Ira, are you coming to speak? And after Ira, the 4 eldest grandchildren.
Thank you all for being here this day. I'm Ira. I'm Norman's older brother. We're one of 3. My late brother Michael is in heaven, having left us in 2012. It's hard for me. It's hard today. Norman was special to me. We grew up real simple in Cleveland Heights. Our hobbies were innocent. We played in the backyard, built snowmen, igloos in the winter, collected butterflies and praying mantises. And we went to schools together. He was a couple of years behind us and in school, and it was hard to compete with the twins. My brother and I kind of stole the show, but Norman always excelled in so many ways. His courage, his strength, his motivation, his mathematical genius, his ability to synthesize information, size people up, and make rational decisions was unsurpassed by anybody in my family. he was a master at really understanding others and being tolerant to others and being kind to others. Attributes that are so rare, showing, I think, incredible strength. During this illness, I was a practicing doc for 40 years. I was a gastroenterologist. I witnessed everything in my practice, I thought, and watched death and dying. But I've never seen a more brave, stoic, non-complaining, wonderful individual who faded and went to God's kingdom peacefully Wednesday morning. His incredible will and determination to fight and not show others or share with others the feelings that he had during his illness showed his great bravery to the end. His gentle spirit, his soul, his compassion, his love for his family was enviable. And his love and his dedication from his family, his children and his wife. I've never seen anything like it. So thank you all for being here. And although his time with us was so short, the world will never be the same without Norman, because he touched so many of us with his compassion, his kindness, and his love for others. Attributes which are rare in today's world. You just don't find them anymore. And that breed is dying away slowly. So as we say goodbye to my brother today, please just remember the love and joy that he brought to all of us and the grace that he showed us to the end. Thank you for being here.
And also let us say amen to that prayer. Amen. Cameron Reese, Austin, and Avery. I'm mixing you all up. Please come forward.
Dear Papa, I am so grateful for the everlasting memories that our family was able to share together. I always cherish the memories of going downtown to catch a game together with our family, sleeping over routinely with my cousins from age 1 all the way until the end of high school, or watching sports with my friends as we sit by the pool together and shoot the shit, and always ordering the same teriyaki salmon dinner from Pacific East. Papa was always the first one to try to make someone's day better, crack a joke, or do anything to lighten up the mood. He would always go out of his way to make other people's days better. Truly one of the most caring and loving spirits I have ever met. Now, I recall my mom's Torah portion, which had the central idea of being a mensch, or a person that was a giver and lives with integrity and honor. Papa embodied everything that word mensch means. You taught and influenced so many, including myself, about what it means to be a kind soul. I love you, Papa.
I'm lucky enough to have 19 years of precious memories with my Papa. Sorry. From us laughing in the kitchen together while he sneaks the junk food Nani would hide from him in various cabinets and drawers, to having long conversations about life experiences during nights I'd sleep over. I hold on to those conversations so tightly. Another memory I love was my birthday. One day during these past few months, Papa had told Nani he just wished to feel like himself for one more day. My birthday was last month and I turned 19. I was still in school at Ohio University, and it was going to be my first birthday spent without family. I woke up feeling bittersweet, knowing my family was a 3-hour drive away. And right after my first class of the day ended, I called Nani over the phone and told her I was going to go to Starbucks for the hour break I had in between classes. I was mid-sentence walking out of the building, and there was my mom, Nani, Chase, my dog Kiko, and Papa. I've never been so speechless and surprised in my life. The fact that they had made the 3-hour drive just to spend an hour with me made me feel so loved, especially since Papa hadn't been feeling his best for quite some time. We walked around and ate sushi, and they even brought a cake to sing happy birthday to me. Papa told me that that was his best hour of his life. Even with only his presence, he made me feel like the most special person in the world. And that was the last day. Papa felt like himself, and the best birthday I've ever had.
Everyone gathered here today has witnessed just how wonderful and kind-hearted my Papa was. Whether you were a friend, an employee, or family, he managed to touch each of our lives with his generous spirit and warm soul. Whether it was the small things like hooking you up with a piece of gum, or the things I cherish, such as being able to sit there and talk to him while receiving his advice, or taking me to Valentine's Day brunch in elementary school. A few months ago, I was fortunate enough to attend a Cavs game with my Papa. On the drive home, we had a deep conversation about personal life and how to conduct oneself. From that discussion, I learned valuable life lessons that my Papa embodied every day. He taught me to treat everyone with respect, regardless of how they treated you, and to cherish every moment, big or small. My Papa truly cherished every moment of his life, no matter the circumstance, and this is a principle I believe everyone should hold dear. Thank you all for being here to honor my Papa's memory, and let's remember to live with the same kindness and joy that he did.
Sorry, my voice is probably going to be pretty shaky. Papa, the world won't be the same now that you left it. I'll never forget the memories we made that will last a lifetime. I'm so thankful that we shared so many similarities, like our unfiltered humor and jokes that only you and I would laugh at, since everyone had heard them one too many times. I don't think I've ever related to someone so deeply. I'll forever cherish when we'd sit on the couch together and talk about life and all the people who we needed to see the best in, although they were quite hostile. And of course, your life stories that were so interesting in such great detail. Your ability to form words so smoothly and always knowing what to say to someone. The numerous life lessons you taught me are ones that I'll hold on to for an eternity. Up until your very last days when I'd visit you, no matter what, you always worried about our family before yourself. You created such an amazing family, leaving behind a legacy like no other. Your bravery, resilience, and grit will forever continue to inspire me. You are so selfless and so kind. I love you so much, Papa. You're going to be missed. You're an amazing father, Papa, son, brother, and role model.
And to those words, let us say amen. So we gather to fulfill the solemn obligation of paying our respects to the memory of your dearly departed, Norman Shafran, Nachum ben Yeshaya the Vichne. He was hardworking, and he was loving, and he was calm. Even when the kids were fighting in the back seat, he was calm, which is a great character trait. Whatever you do for a living, when it all starts flying, if you can be calm. And he was a problem solver. Once, as the family was driving down to Florida, it was like that movie, National Lampoon Vacation. They never got to Wally World, Ian said, but they got to Akron. And on the way down to Akron, as they were going to Florida, on the way down to Akron, the fighting in the backseat was so bad, he called the airlines and he said, "Get me a flight to Florida. I don't care where we're going." And I asked Ian, "Where did you fly?" He goes, "I have no idea, but we got on a flight and we flew to Florida." So it's great to be a problem solver. This week's Torah portion is a reminder of Norman in at least two ways: being helpful and being charitable, and the love of liberty. First, we're in the book of Leviticus. We're toward the end of Leviticus. It's a Torah portion Bahar, which means the Mount Sinai. We're nearing the conclusion, and the Sedra has 57 verses. 37 of them deal with tzedakah, with righteous giving, with charity. We learn how to help the widow, to help the orphan, the stranger, and the slave. And your dear Norman was concerned, and he helped those in need. And when you were in need, he helped you when you felt like a stranger, or when you felt like an orphan, or when you were a slave to your situation, you were a slave to your emotions. And you know what else? As we approach Memorial Day and showing of gratitude to those who gave the last measure of devotion for our country, we come to the Torah verse in this week's Torah portion, Leviticus chapter 25, verse 10. Please check. Proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. We have liberty in large measure because of those who have defended us. And one more item that Norman would love. Those words, proclaim liberty throughout the land unto the inhabitants thereof, those words are actually written on the Liberty Bell. There's one Bible verse written on the Liberty Bell, and it's from the Torah, which shows how deep the connection is between the country, our beloved country in which we live, and Jewish Bible, how deep those roots are. And it highlights the importance of freedom for all people. So Norman was born here in Cleveland. He was born on November 6, 1951. His parents, Sanford of blessed memory, and his mother Vivian, who is here, we offer our condolences. She's 95 years old. You should never have to bury a child, even if you're 95. And you know, 3 siblings, Michael of blessed memory, Ira, and Norman of blessed memory. So Donna said that her mother-in-law, wasn't it your mother-in-law said? You never meet a nice Jewish girl in a bar. And guess what? That's where they met, at a bar in South Euclid. So sometimes your parents are right, sometimes your parents, well, they're wrong. And then they were married October 5th, 1975, and they met in a bar. What was the name of the bar? What? Hannah's Bananas? Never heard of it. But then not hanging out in a lot of bars. So that's beautiful. So you met, were married, like a year later. They were married 48 years, a little bit more than 48 years at the time of his death. And as you know the names of the children, you know the names of the grandchildren. There are 3 children, 8 grandchildren. The family lived near Severance in Cleveland Heights, just right up the street. They were not observant, but they lived in an observant neighborhood, so they fit right in. He was sensitive and he was crazy. And Ian said about 6 months ago, you think about this was particularly meaningful in depth. You have the people in your life that are the core people in your life. And he said, Mom, Dad, and the 3 of us as kids. Once you go away to college, you don't really come back. And the 5 of you that are the core people, you're not ever in a room together again without spouses or girlfriends or boyfriends. But about 6 months ago, I realized this. You're never together. But yesterday, he said, we were at the hospital. And my sister asked, okay, Dad, who's your favorite? Which at a very sad and significant moment, it's nice to have somebody to break it with a little bit of humor. He did not answer. He just waved off. He didn't even answer. Last October, Ian and Dad, Norman, went to the Browns game. It was like a Super Bowl for us. The Browns were playing the 49ers. And he had chemo. He was feeling terrible, but he toughed it up, and they went to the game. And as we know, it was like our Super Bowl. We were supposed to lose to the 49ers badly, and we won. But we don't get full of ourselves here in Cleveland. It was a victory. It was nice to be there. They went to the game. Elise said something about they used to Venmo back and forth. She would pay for something that he didn't want her to pay for. He would Venmo her the money back. And then she would Venmo him the money back for something else. And so he went to Cleveland Heights High School. Then he went to Kent State for a little while, then he went to Cleveland State for a little while, then he went to Ohio State University, the Ohio State University. But it just goes to show you in so many ways, it really doesn't matter where you go to college, you know. You just need to get a good education and be a good, decent, hardworking person, and you'll be fine. And he was. And as we know, no matter how he felt, he persevered. And yesterday, early morning, was just after midnight. He breathed his last. And now there's just rest and wholeness and peace. There's no more deterioration or pain. His soul is returning to God and to be with the souls of his dear relatives and friends and the ancestors of our people. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. One day all of us will join our loved ones in Olam Haba, the world to come. It's a spiritual existence. It's not a place. The cemetery we're going to is a place. This is a place. But Olam Haba is a spiritual existence. And you'll be together again with your dear loved ones. The family is allowing us to send along a Tanakh, a Hebrew Bible, and also a Passover Haggadah in the casket with him. It's a privilege to escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place, and also holy books of our tradition. Oh, his favorite holidays, Passover, and every year they said the Seder got about a minute shorter. So by this time, I don't know, how short was the Seder? 15 minutes? Well, you know, when I'm not doing Seder at our house, I'm coming to your house. I bet you my family would like that too. We're all coming. And Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving based upon the biblical holiday Sukkot. He loved Thanksgiving and he loved Pesach. And so we're sending along a Haggadah with him also because, as we know, Pesach is a time when we thank God for redeeming our ancestors from slavery and Egyptian bondage. And so now, and we thank God these many thousands of years ago, and now your dear Norman is liberated and free. You have many, 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 many memories of Norman. And when we get back to the house, if you have something that you want to say, try to find a place and you can say it in front of other people, because I know there were other people that wanted to speak as well. But as you think of him, try to be kinder and more thoughtful of others and do these things in his loving memory. For only through the deeds which we perform can the world be compensated for the loss of this good, decent man. Use the word mensch, a good, decent guy, and he was. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Norman Shafran. And let us say Amen. After the El Maleh Rachamim prayer, we're going to Beit Olam Cemetery. If you are not going to Beit Olam Cemetery, when we leave, it's about probably an hour and 15 minutes before we get back to the house. 24497 Hawthorne Drive. Family will be there until 8 p.m., but they'll be there longer. And you can find the Shiva details for the next 4 days. And we'll do a little short minyan when we get there, and then we'll eat, we'll break bread together, we'll laugh, and we'll cry. And we'll remember Norman and build some new memories. 4 o'clock today. So you think 4 o'clock. Okay, 4 o'clock today. It ends at 4 o'clock, right? Right. So everybody who comes, you'll have to leave at 4 o'clock. It'll be the long Jewish goodbye. It'll be a little longer than 4 o'clock, but it should end at 4 o'clock. Please rise for El Malei Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Norman Dale Shafran, Nachum ben Yeshaya Vichna. For God, you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us so we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Chadfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Gezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Nachum ben Yeshaya Vichna, Shalacho La'olamo, Ba'al Harachamim, Yastirehu B'Seteh Kanafav Le'olamim, Vayitzro B'Zro HaChaim, Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar, Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Norman Shafran. He has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. We call forward the gentleman from the funeral home. They'll give us instructions to go to Beit Olam. He'll be on the Kaddish list at our synagogue, Temple Israel, Ner Tamid, and other synagogues. But our services are every Friday night at 7:30. He'll be on the Kaddish list for 30 days. We'll say Kaddish whether anybody who knew him was there or not. It'll be our privilege.